Excellent. So hopefully everyone can see my screen. Let me actually go right back to the first slide. Let me know if you can't see that. So welcome everyone to our AU Core Technical Design Group meeting this fine Thursday. This is going to be one of our first ballot reconciliation meetings for AU Core R1 for the ballot for working standard. I'm Danielle Tavares-Rickson. If this is your first meeting, I'm an AU Core co-chair, and today's scribe for the minutes, I think we've got someone new taking the minutes today, which is great. Is that you taking the minutes today, Shelley?
That is me today. I'm going to have a go. And then I've got Jamie here to support me, make sure I don't miss anything.
Perfect. If there's anything that you need us to clarify as we're going through, any motions or any comments, please just sing out so that we can make sure we capture that.
Lovely. Thank you.
Okay, so let's kick off. I did want to start with an acknowledgement of country in which we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands of which we gather today. Those for me are the lands of the Turrbal and Yagara people, and we pay our respect to elders past, present and emerging, and extend our respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. And we acknowledge the First Peoples as the first scientists, educators and healers. The agenda for today's call is the usual business up front, which is approval of minutes, going through any actions of last meeting, and also updates and news. We're going to be doing a report back from the Connectathon, which was held about 2 weeks ago now in Brisbane. A little bit more on the testing, AU Core testing report back, and then spend the majority of our meeting on ballot reconciliation. The issues that are tabled today have been sent round to everyone for review prior to this meeting. And I can see we've got the relevant people on the line. That's great. We've got someone from Medi Records. Perfect. So that's what we need to talk about today's ballot issues. So let's just go into usual business, which is minutes. So I did send around the minutes for the face-to-face meeting we had 2 weeks ago, and I'll just go to those now. So these were the minutes. I guess it was really a hybrid meeting at Telstra Health in Brisbane. What we went through was a bit more talking about what's coming up around planning and starting the report back on testing. And we were going to do a first look at ballot issues, but we ran out of time. And so we've got these items and the recording. This has been captured. Now, does anyone need any further time to review those before we look to approve them? And I'm not hearing anyone. So I think then we can look to approve them. So I'm willing to entertain a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting, which was the 20th of August. Would someone like to motion?
I'm happy to motion. Jamie?
Thanks, Jamie. Would anyone like to second that motion?
I'll second, Jai.
Thanks, Jai. So what I'm going to do now is put up the meeting poll, I think. Hang on. Where are all my buttons? It's in a new spot. There we go. So I'm going to put up our meeting poll. If this is your first meeting, this is what we do for making decisions. Official decisions, we're asking for affirmative, negative, and abstain. And if this is your first meeting, then please feel free to abstain. You won't have reviewed those minutes and you weren't at that meeting. So we're just waiting for a few more people to pop in a vote now. And I'll count that down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'll end that poll and I'll share the results. So that motion is passed, and for the minutes, we have 16 affirmative, 0 negative, and 16 abstaining. Thanks for that, everybody. So let's pop under updates and news. A couple of pieces of business there. So one is about a patient summary project proposal, a patient summary fire IG project proposal. This is, I guess, the next part on when we were talking through on what is coming up for Sparked, on reason for encounter, chronic disease management and patient summary. There's now a project proposal looking to start forming for a project team to work on that starting sometime this year. And we're calling for participants, especially those people who are looking to implement or are already implementing a patient summary capability and who are keen to work on and contribute to a fire IG on that, to register your interest. I've got a tiny URL code here. And these minutes, the slides are already on the minutes page. And there's a QR code to the draft proposal, which has information on the purpose, on the timeframes, and who has registered their interest today. So that's just something that I wanted to call out for anyone. Other update, let's give an overview of our working standard ballot. So the ballot period is still open. That's until this Sunday. So folks, if you have registered to vote and you haven't voted yet, please get into that. There's, I think, 44 people who've signed up to vote who haven't yet recorded a vote. And also just a note for those people who are looking to vote, don't forget that when you raise a piece of feedback, if you want to vote on that, you also have to vote on it. So it's not just raising a piece of feedback, it's also then voting on it. If you've got any questions about that, you can pop that in chat.fire.org. You can send me an email. You can also send an email to HL7. I think someone in the line maybe needs to go on mute.
So indeed you did.
Oh, I think that's you, Grant. Grant, I think you need to go on mute. Okay, so far we've got 40. There's more coming in now. I've seen quite a few raised that I suspect will actually end up being voted on. So that will probably end up going up to, I don't know, maybe 80, maybe 100 pieces of feedback, where we will look at those in our ballot reconciliation period. And at the moment, the AU Core co-chairs have started triage, and we've only really looked at 8, some of which we're voting on today, and the more we're starting to sort of bring through around technical corrections, what are the questions people are asking and what is going to be coming up. Are there any questions, I guess, on the ballot process or the ballot period at the moment? I know we're going to go into ballot reconciliation. That's all right. And there are some links down here on the homepage for where all this information is around what votes are coming up. I'll just click on that and we'll go to it. So this is our ballot for working standard, which has the session that I went through a couple of weeks ago on the overall ballot process, who's doing what when. You've got a filter to the JIRA issues, so you can see everything that's been voted on for this period, and also where we've got votes coming up. And eventually when we do vote on things, hopefully we'll vote on those for today, then we'll track that in votes completed down here. There's also a link off to the co-chair triage page, remembering that everything is open. which is documenting what we're working through, what our comments are, and who's looking after what. So there's a whole number of things in action that if you're fascinated to, you can stay up to date on all of that really low level information. But coming back to the presentation now, so that's the update on our ballot for working standard. I'm just going to hand over here, Landon, to go through the connectathon. Did you want to share your screen for that?
Yes, sure. Great. Can you see my screen? Yes.
Yep, we
Awesome.
can.
Okay, perfect. My name is Landon Riley. I was a track lead at the AU Core Connectathon. Our primary goal for AU Core at this Connectathon was to test the AU Core Ballot Snapshot 100. The focus was primarily on testing the profiles requester, responder, and profile only. So like other testing events, it was to validate and ensure it's ready for implementation. We also had a side goal of getting more test coverage across areas like observations, missing data, and AU Core requester coverage. So for AU Core requester, we had some good coverage, including teams from Cyro, Better Software, and OXO, among others. Each participant brought some unique and innovative clients and tooling. Some solutions included AU Core mobile apps, web apps, some AU Core code generators, and OpenAI file mappers. There were some pretty cool clients. Likewise, the AU Core responder saw participation from various organizations, including Halo Connect, Inner Systems, White Fox, KRE8, just to name a few. There was combinations of AU Core file servers and facades. And some clients were able to successfully connect to all of these responders, which was quite an achievement. Some participants focused exclusively on testing AU Core profile compliance. For some participants, it was their first Connectathon, and they were able to gain a better understanding of the different resource profiles, which is good. Some notable achievements that we noted, I might just summarize these. We had comprehensive Inferno testing and analysis of these results, which was great. As I mentioned before, most of the requesters were able to connect to, if not all of the responders, which was pretty awesome. We saw the display of missing data elements in clients, and there was discovery of some issues in the Spark test data. For the demonstrations, a number of, as you can see on the screen, a number of organizations did some presentations. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to get through all of the presentations. So for those who missed out, hopefully you can show at the next Connectathon. But they're all great demos on some of those client things I mentioned earlier. Thanks for your participation. And discovery issues and questions. There were some questions around how to effectively handle missing data elements. For search parameters, there were some queries on the proper usage and implementation of these search parameters. There was lots of valuable feedback from participants, and a big thank you to everyone who submitted the test data and test data from Inferno. And to finish up, AU Core testing was a pretty big success. We had greater participation and more client-server connections than we anticipated, exceeding our expectations. Thank you for everyone that came and participated. I might hand back over to you, Danielle.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Landon. I've just popped a link to the track page and really track report out slides in the minutes for today. And I'll start sharing my screen again. Let me just get to that. All right, and do a quick AU Core reporting, AU Core testing report back. I'll drop a link to the testing page in the chat because that has some of what I'm about to show. And I assume everyone can see my slides, my screen. Okie dokie. So you might be getting sick of seeing the slide, but just noting we're also have a couple more products who have registered their interest. which is great. Notably also really dispense works coming in from medications, Halo Connect. So that's good to have had some additional coverage in certain aspects. In terms of test results, we've really jumped up now from where we were to having 21 different products have gone through and submitted test results, which is really, really useful. I think we're starting to work through some of where we'd like more coverage. And I'll just do a little update on where we are for profile only coverage. We are also looking at requester and responder coverage, and I'll do report backs on that as we go in future meetings. So just the different products that have tested this, I've just got a list of them here. They're on that testing page where we're actually starting to surface now the results. Who's testing? What are they testing? What have we got coverage of? Where don't we have coverage? Is now on that Confluence page. And I'm just going to move past this fairly quickly to just talk about profile only stuff. So we've already covered this in our last meeting about what are we actually looking for? What does minimum coverage look like based off FMM2 levels? And so here's the updates on the numbers of systems that we've got coming through. We really picked up some medication testing. And we've also actually tracked the profile for sex assigned at birth and also missing data and suppressed data. We got some testing results that we tracked through from the Connectathon, which was really good, because what that means is it changes where we had question marks for sex assigned at birth, and we also had question marks on missing data and suppressed data. And they've actually now got minimum coverage for what we were looking for testing across those aspects, which is great. So that was one of the outcomes of the Connectathon. We increased coverage testing across a lot of what we already had. That's not surprising. A lot of people testing patient, practitioner role, condition, allergies, immunizations were pretty common. There was really only a small amount of testing across vitals and the measurements. And that means we're still looking, I think, for additional coverage that's desired. And that still looks like this. We have addressed, we have got more testing here, but what we don't necessarily have evidence for where people are testing is still the PBS slices. I think we actually got, there's some follow-up there. I think Grant has suggested that they actually have coverage of this, and that we can go look to do some work on that over the next couple of weeks. So that's good that we can go and test that out. And also reason reference for medication request. In terms of the rest of that, oh yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Grant. In the rest of them, it's basically the same position, which is what I expected for where we were noting that people just aren't typically having this in terms of their test coverage around data absent reason, and looking through the component parts that are currently MustSupport due to the fire standard across the vitals. So it's the same thing across the vitals. And also in terms of the diagnostic and pathology, a similar thing though in the diagnostic result observation, that's pretty patchy across the whole set. And these stats are a summary of testing to date. So everything we have results from, whether they're coming out of events or Connectathons, or the people who are doing testing, which is absolutely open now. If you're interested to test, how to get involved is off that test page with the link in the chat. So that's just that update on the report back there. All of that is on Confluence at the moment, and that's going to be kept up to date. And also the requester and responder stuff is going to be coming through over the next couple of weeks. Okay, so let's get into ballot reconciliation. Here is today's ballot items. So these are the 4 that were sent round for people to review. And I don't have any very detailed slides on these, so we're just going to go through these from the top. If this is your first AU Core meeting, we're going through ballot items now. So the ballot for working standard for R1 is open, and people who are voters, HR7AU members, are submitting items that they are voting on that they're asking to be considered prior to publication of R1. And while the ballot is still open, it's got a few more days left. These items have already come in and we're starting to look at them now. And for any change requests, the technical design group, this group, needs to go through and consider those items and decide on a particular disposition. I've gone through what all of those are a couple of weeks ago, but at any point, if people would like a refresher on the different dispositions around persuasive or non-persuasive, we can take a pause and do that to make sure that we know what decisions we're making. So, unless there are any questions off this one, I'll dive in from the top and we'll just start at the top and work our way down. And if you do have any questions, just pop your hand up in the Zoom reactions. All right, so the first one is sex assigned at birth, add profile specific guidance on use of value set. And I'll just go to that. This is an informative change request. Can I just check, is that big enough for people or do you need me to zoom in terms of text?
Looks good.
All right. So this was raised, I raised it so I could talk to it. And what I've suggested is that on the profile page for the profile sex assigned at birth, it's missing profile specific implementation guidance about how to use the value set, and that I think the following should be added. And I think this should be added because we have done that on how to do such things for the other sex and gender items, being gender identity and pronouns. I'll go to the page so that you can see the current content. So the current content has, oh, I have no idea why that's there. That shouldn't be there. That's interesting. I might have raised a thing and it's already present. Well, there you go. Perhaps we don't need to vote on that. I admit this is a bit of an older issue that I was raising, and we might have already addressed it, and I just missed that in the version that I was reviewing the standard on. Let's just double check it's actually in the ballot version. Public versions. Profiles. Okay, this profile of this extension. Yep, there it is. Well, that was quick and easy, wasn't it? It's already done. We don't need to vote on it. Ha! I will then withdraw this because I have raised it, but it is actually already present. So I will retract this issue, which is what a person who raised an issue can do. I can, if I click close, resolved, no change, that means that it is withdrawn by the person who raised it. Let me do that now. Oh, because it's a ballot issue, I'd need to unvote it first. Let's double check. Who's voted on? Is it just me? No. Landon, are you happy for this issue to be considered done and doesn't need to be actioned since it is present in the
Yes.
ballot draft?
I'm happy to. Do you want me to withdraw my vote?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So let's just note that, yeah, you need to come to this and click unvote.
Yeah.
And I'll click unvote. And then if you do the same thing, that will then allow me to then close this. Let me know when you've done that.
Can you drop the link in the chat? Just struggling to find it.
Right.
Perfect, thank you.
This is the item we were looking at. Okay. So while you're doing that, Landon,
I've
let's
unvoted.
actually. Oh, already done. Okay. I'll go through again. All right. So if that's unvoted, I should be able to do that. Perfect. Done. Magic. And I'll add a comment stating why I have retracted that issue. All right, let's go to the next one. I don't think the rest of them will be that obvious. Okay, so this one, this isn't me that's raised it. Neil has, and I think Neil, you're on the line.
Yes, it's
Great. Did you want to talk through that? And I'm happy to drive if you want to tell me like where to go in the spec or anything like that.
okay. So we raised this, I think, during the first testing connectathon in Sydney. So for us, I guess from a vendor's point of view, and I get also as a facade server, like the first thing we implement for a resource is read, just to make sure all the mapping's correct, and then we do search and whatnot. So for us, and I would say for most of these vendors, once you've implemented read by ID, we couldn't really find a use case to need for search by ID. And like I said, there, read by ID is more precise. And like if we already have it, there's no need for search by ID. And some examples of others like medication request, which also has it as a should rather than a shall. So yeah, so that's where we're at.
Thanks, Neil.
No worries.
Back to you in a bit. So the coach has had a look through, and what we discovered was that in fact the practitioner one, that should have been a should. So that's a technical correction.
We made it worse for ourselves by pointing that out.
No. I mean, it's actually correct that it should be a should. And we've raised a corresponding Inferno fix and a fix for the IG. It's a copy pasta error, where it is in the machine processable to be should, but the narrative had shall, so it looks like shall. And it's correct in the requester capability statement for AU Core. For those folks who are going, what are you talking about? We're talking about in the capability statement, there's both requester and responder. So in responder, under here, we're talking about the requirement around underscore ID, and that says shall. Of course, in requester, there's equivalent kind of rules. And in practitioner, of course, it says should here for practitioner. And we've looked through that and confirmed that with the standards editor, Dushi, that was meant to be a should, and that's been a technical error in the copy paste on that narrative for the table. So that will be corrected. The other part of your item, oops, that's this issue here, sorry for jumping around, is patient. So this was patient and practitioner. So talking about patient underscore ID support. And the moment in both, if I go up to patient, this should be patient here. And this is the requester capability statement. So underscore ID is a shall. And in the responder capability statement, it is a shall. Up here, yes, it's meant to be. And so that's a change request for consideration by this group on whether support for underscore ID should be down, I guess, relaxed to be should instead of shall. In my opinion, or in the coach's opinion, reading through what was proposed, that it isn't, that unlike practitioner, or the co-chair triage is proposing that we shouldn't change that, so that we should be aligning to the standards for international patient access for patient and for US core patient, which require support for underscore shall. And that this supports the use cases around pop health and other requirements where you don't actually want to just retrieve that one resource. You want to be able to pull together particular things and use underscore include. So I think that's the reasoning there. So let's open this up to question and comment from the group around the proposal to say that underscore ID should be should.
Danielle, I can't raise my hand. I can't see the button.
Okay.
But a comment I've got on that is that I think the underscore ID is important for when we're trying to include other resources in that. And currently in AU Core release, there is no underscore include search parameters on patient. I think US Core has provenance target. And so therefore it would make sense there. So it's shall at the moment, potentially as a placeholder for later when there are other things you would include with it. But as it stands at the moment, there's no search parameters that you would use with that underscore ID in the current version. So it could be potentially left or moved to a should now, but that means it might move to a shall later when we add other include search parameters later. So I think that's probably do you want to lower it now and then put it back up later, or leave it where it is now at a shall?
Roma?
It seems reasonable to lower it now because there is an implementation burden to testing this level of the spec and putting in something that will be needed later because of underscore includes or other kind of logical operators that are currently not shalled, which will later make the ID very useful in population health or in other kinds of searches. If it's not used, if all of those features aren't things that we have and the only shall is to you shall allow for search by a singular ID, then it is, at least for now, redundant. And I think it's okay to not put the implementation burden on implementers yet, so it's easier to get into testing for R1. And then later when we do, let's bring it up. That's fine.
Okay. Brett?
Yeah, I was just going to put another spin on why it's nice to have both. Since it is a well-recognized international usage with US Core and IPA, I think there are clients that may want to connect into your responder systems that are assuming they can choose between underscore ID or read, and not having that known to be supported then becomes a decision point and a specific implementation kind of a thing they have to assess. So yeah, just noting that it does make client connectors life easier if there's both. And I'm also pretty certain we're heading to looking at IPA as part of our spec as well. So I think it will be very soon a requirement anyway. Yeah, anyway.
I think it is worth noting on that point that at this point we are compliant to the international standard for IPA, patient access, which is patient and provider apps. If we put should here, that would be our point of no longer being, I guess, fully aligned with the international standard. And if we make that decision, then we make that decision, and we should justify why we aren't in alignment with the international standard for it. Yes. Sanjeet?
Just to add to Michael's point and whatever Brett said, I'm looking at release one candidates. Are we looking at bare minimum, get out of the way, right? Is this something that needs to be in the bare minimum? Is there a use case that defines it being shall for release one? Do we expect it to be used as part of release one? IPA, and I've looked at the document that has been shared or the conference link. IPA is not meant to go live till 26. The profile 25 or 26 June.
By who? Live by who? Because
I mean the email you had sent.
Published standard.
Yeah. Australian patient summary. It's not meant to be live till 25 June. Is it mandatory for that then? Do we need to have it? Can we start it should and move to shall?
Isn't just tied into Core, it's also your RESTful API for your atomic stuff. So it's not just patient summary. That's one part of what IPA does.
Okay. But regardless, I mean, is it part of the minimum data set? Do we need it?
So let's put that question to the folks on the line. Has anyone implemented or does anyone use underscore ID for patient?
Halo does. As a responder.
Okay.
Sorry, I had a thought and I haven't quite put the pieces together yet, but circling a thought around get by ID being done via a HTTP GET versus search being a post and therefore being able to put parameters in the body, which potentially allows people to hide PII, so it's not just straight in the URL. Unsure if that could factor in.
I think it does.
I think that's a common misconception that URL parameters are encrypted in HTTPS. It does come up a lot that URL parameters, people tend to think that they're not encrypted, but they 100% are exactly the same as the body of a request. So whether they're in the body or in the query parameters and URL, they're still encrypted.
That's true. The one caveat to that caveat is that sometimes users will copy and paste the URL into other systems and inadvertently potentially expose a sensitive information that way.
Yeah, outside of the actual transaction. Yeah, that's right.
Yes. Yep.
Roma?
I mean, you can copy paste body parameters, right? Like I don't think there's any real difference. All of these things are visible in the browser. If you want to see, hit F12, refresh your page, you can see all of your query parameters, all of your body parameters. You know, you can copy paste whatever thing you want, and we use tools like Postman. So I think that's
I agree with you 100%. Just that perhaps the non-technical might inadvertently kind of leak. It's kind of like a side channel, really. They know if they copy and paste content from a patient record that's appearing on screen that's a no-no. They might not have the same degree of appreciation for a URL query string. So it's clearly not a security flaw. It's just, I don't know, a practice, I guess.
I mean, I have one question about IPA. If we move to should, even if it's temporarily, and break compatibility with IPA, does the IPA have other reasons for including _ID in it already? Like, does IPA actually have include, or does it have other things that can be done with ID, or does IPA have ID as a redundant form of read like we do? That's a question.
Brett, are you answering that question?
Oh, sorry, I was going to answer that one.
No, go for it, please, Michael.
It's got provenance target as an include on patient as well. So.
Okay, so it has a concrete reason for having it, in some ways almost unlike us. That's just what I wanted to know. Thanks.
Brett?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to what I said before. There's quite a number of apps that are written from the US market where the assumption is a US core capable API. So there will be an assumption by those apps that they could use _ID or read. So I think if we're looking at supporting that activity easily, it's a very worthwhile exercise. Plus also, if you plan to look at US markets and US core as being something you offer, you would need to do this as part of that anyway. So I think it's more just a general capability question, and I can get pushing it off downstream, but I think that's just something to consider, because I really think that's probably going to be a factor as there's more usage. Yeah.
There's one thing that I just want to pose to people. This is raised on Responder, and there is both a requester and a responder. So in talking about what you were mentioning, Brett, that would more seem like, okay, we're saying it to, that sounds to me like a should for _ID on requester and a shall on responder, as in clients may choose to implement either read or search by _ID, but an AU core responder shall be capable of responding to either request. Basically, it shall be capable of dealing with that. That would be what it would mean if we did should on _ID and shall on responder.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying, because it's it does put it on the responder to be able to handle clients with different usage.
Which
so
is
it's
what we have as a separate conformance requirement up here. Although it's noted both shall there is this statement here that responders shall support the capability for a requester to access patient records using either ID, underscore ID, or patient identifier.
Yeah, any of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that's what we're talking about, is saying, well, no, we're going to take out underscore ID and just leave it at those, at ID and identifier. Roma?
I think Brett's point's really important about the integration with US apps, but at the same time, and again, this is another thing I just don't understand about this process. It's really more of a question. I think that having a goal of integrating the US apps at some point on the roadmap is a really good thing to have. What I don't understand is where on our roadmap do we see that integration happening? The US profile is a lot more mature than ours. It's been going on for longer. It's not just the search that they have, search by ID that they have. They have loads and loads of things because it's in a more mature state. And so it isn't necessarily clear to me that aiming for compatibility on the very first, on such an early release is important as much as saying we want US apps to broadly function within the Australian ecosystem by this release. And even to do that, the information that we would need would be some understanding of what API calls that we're using and which combinations of, or, just alignment to their spec. But I don't know if we're doing it earlier maybe than we have to.
Okay.
Sorry, I still can't raise my hand. On IPA for the client, it says that client applications shall be able to access the patient record using the GET by ID, and they may use search parameters that service required to support, like underscore ID. So that was the
Yes.
But I agree.
Oh,
I actually agree with Brett's comment. I'm just pointing out that that's what the IPA.
So yeah, US core appears to be requester and responder is underscore ID on both, like they're equivalent. In IPA, it is underscore ID for requesters should and responders shall.
May.
No,
Sorry.
for IPA server
Is should, shall.
let's double check. Because if under IPA's server capability system statement, go down to that for patient. Here it is. Shall support the capability to do any of those three things.
And if you have a look at the client one, it's a
and
may.
shall underscore ID. Yeah, so IPA is still a shall for responder, but or client, but it is I believe a should or a may for underscore ID in the client side of things. So that's the difference IPA has. Yeah, might choose to do either of these. So yeah, that's a should there.
Oh, it's interesting. It says may in the text above, and then says should down there.
May do either of them. An application may use these search parameters that servers are required to support. Yeah.
Irrespective of the IPA or the US or anything, I think from an Australian perspective, if we've got the requester being a should, then I think we need to have the server as a shall. Otherwise, we're in a negotiation situation on a case-by-case basis, which is contrary to what I think we're trying to achieve with AU Core.
Okay. So we need to, under this particular topic, consider both requester and responder. We can't downgrade, I believe, responder from shall to should, but leave requester as shall. So we do have to consider both of them for underscore ID. Our choices appear to be leave both of them as shall, move both of them to should, noting that the position that Heath and I think I stated and Brett that if we move requester to should, that still tends to mean that responder should be shall for underscore ID. I suppose we could just take out underscore ID in total as a fourth option. Are there any further comments or questions, or does someone want to pose a motion for, or actually, let me ask, is there any appetite to remove _ID for patient in total from our UCOR? Okay, I'm not hearing that. So we do want to say something about it in R1. Okay. Would someone like to make a motion on this? I think we've really got two positions, is what I'm hearing, which is should for requester, shall for responder, or I guess the shall for requester, shall for responder. Hang on. I've now confused myself. Apologies.
I am very much on team. I'm going to vote for team drop it. I think that I don't think I can manage to convey that, but I think it should be removed entirely for now and then put in later. Because I think the other one is, I agree with the other one becomes tricky as to who actually has to do what.
All right, let's do a sort of a show of hands to work out where people are generally sitting. So Heath, can you lower your hand? Unless, sorry, you have a question or a comment further.
Down.
Okay, so the people who want to drop in totally, can you put your hand up? And for those people on a phone, you can say your name. So just counting that down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's 3 people. Pop your hands down. So, okay, so for people who are saying no, this should just stay shall for both requesters and responders, can I get you to put your hand up now, please? Or sing out your name.
Okay.
All right, so there's only a couple of people there. If you can pop your hands down. So the other option we've got then is that we move to, oh, just wait, David, if you could pop your hand down. Perfect. For if we want to be should in requester and shall in responder. Can I get people to put their hand up that think that that is the option that we should be voting on? Motion.
Michael.
Yep. Okay, that's the clear winner by far. You can already put your hand down. That's quite clearly got many more people saying that that is the option they're interested in. So can I ask someone to make that motion, please?
It's covered by Medicare. If not, you have to pay, but I don't know how
I'm
much.
happy to make the motion that we have
Just letting
the
you know.
responder with a shall support on _ID, and the requester is a should support _ID.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Do I have a seconder?
Oh, you need my Medicare number?
Yes, please.
Yes, of course.
I think maybe some people need to go on mute, unless you're seconding, in which case, please call out. Is that you seconding, Heath?
Yeah, I was second.
Okay. So we have the motion, which is _ID moves to should in requester and stays shall in responder for the patient resource. I will now put up our meeting poll. If you don't have access to the meeting poll, if you could go back, actually, I need to put that up. You can sing out whether you are affirmative, negative, or abstaining. So I'll just launch that now. There's the poll. Okay, we've got most people who voted. I still am leaving that for a few more. Again, if you've just dialed in, you can call out if you are affirmative, negative, or abstain, or be quiet. That's, you know, don't have to speak. Okay, I'm stopping the vote in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm ending the poll. And I'll now share the results. So that motion has passed. So we have 21 people voting affirmative, 2 negative, and 12 are abstaining. I'll just check the chat to make sure we don't have any other people. Okay. Vote, Steph. What was your vote? Sorry, or did you,
That was from a previous, the previous round.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so we have come to a decision on this. I will update this with that decision. This is going to be still a non-persuasive with modification in that we are retaining the rule on responder, but we are changing the rule on requester. All right, let's go back to our items. So I'm going to move on to our next item. These next two are related, I think. And I'll go through both of them. I raised these. So we are missing resources from our capability statements. When we went through and did a review, we found that while we had all the resources associated directly with an AU Core profile, when we took out some profile support in AU Core, we took out identification that the resources themselves were supported as part of AU Core, which is a mistake. And I'll go through what that looks like. But in summary, some resources where we have reference off to other profiles like AU Base, or where we don't actually have a profile at all. And I'll go to the example for this. But they are a supported resource type. I come down to table in here that talks about support for multiple types. So here, in supporting resource references, in our profiles, for example, diagnostic result and pathology, we have, for some of these, we've indicated that a related person resource is allowed. We've not profiled that out and we don't intend to, but there's no AU Core profile. This points to the AU base profile. What this means is related person is a supported resource type in AU Core, but it's missing from our capability statement as the set of resources that are supported from AU Core. And I'll just go to an example for what I mean. Oh, we could find it in Encounter. It doesn't really matter. As we come down, you'll note, particularly for these, you can see here's another one where for this supported element, we say you can have a practitioner that conforms to AU Core practitioner, a practitioner role that conforms to this, or a related person. And the relevant profile at the moment is AU-based related person because we haven't yet profiled that. What that means, though, is in our capability statement, we should be calling out all the supported resource types, and we don't. We have missed from this table here the resource type related person. So this is incomplete, and it should be listed. So that's what that issue is. There was some debate on my part on whether or not this is raised as a technical correction, but since it is so, I guess, significant in size, I wanted to bring this through the technical design group as a change request. I think in this issue, if go to it, calls out the different resources that we have missed, which is related person and document reference are the two resources that we are missing for MustSupport requirements in our capability statements. I'll open that up now for questions or comments. Is there anything someone would like me to walk through in a bit more detail? If not, we could move to make a motion on it to include in our capability statements the requirements around related person and document reference.
Sorry, Danielle.
Hmm.
Sorry, does it mean that if we need to include those two resources, those two profiles in the capability statement, they are already profiled? Can you clarify that aspect, please?
I can. Probably a good example is eRequest, the e-requesting capability statement, and even IPS or others, where what there are statements of the resources that are a part of the capabilities expected to be supported. And so for example, here with document reference, this says there's a document reference resource type that is supported as part of this. And in fact, the profile is just the FHIR standard. There's no actual profile. So it looks like the supported profile is just literally the FHIR standard URL.
Yeah.
And that's what we're missing in AU Core, where we have called out that it's one of the supported resource types for some of our elements that you can send back a document reference, or in fact, things can have a related person. But we've missed in our capability statement doing that. It's in the profile, but the capability statement itself is missing the fact that these are allowed resource types.
Right, thank you. But when we call them AU base, does it make any difference from the standard?
It does, not
vanilla?
so much, not very much. It is very vanilla. So it looks like this. The supported profile is AU base, and the AU base related person, which is already, I guess, an agreed profile in AU Core at the moment, has no MustSupport requirements in it, and everything is optional. So there's it's more informative, but it doesn't exactly impose, requirements.
Thank you.
And we'd be looking, I think, in R2 to actually have an AU Core related person profile. It's in our backlog for that. And we would replace the AU based profile with an AU Core one, and the same for document reference.
You might get a few warnings that you get from that if you didn't follow the recommended stuff. That was all.
Yes, so there's no cardinality requirements, but if you did implement it, there are obviously like extensible value sets at the moment. So if you didn't meet some of those things, you would get at this point warnings. Yes. So that's the proposed changes to add to the capability statements, that the related person linking off to the profile that we've set it type to, and document reference linking off to the FHIR standard URL for that.
I'll motion that we accept this disposition and adding related person and document reference to the capability statement.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Do we have a seconder?
Yeah, I can second that.
Okay. All right, I'll just pop up. Sorry, are there any further questions? No? Okay, I'll just pop up that poll for that? Continue. Okay, people should see that. So that's the motion under question. We'll just go through. People are voting now pretty quickly. All right, I'm going to close that off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That one has passed. We have 19 voting affirmative, 0 negative, and 5 abstain. Thank you, everyone, for completing that. I'm pretty sure now I've gone over time, unfortunately. And I'll just double check that. Have I gone over time? Just checking. Were we meant to end at 12?
12:30.
Oh, cool. I've shut down some of the apps that tell me about timers for this when I'm chairing, because I've got some network problems today. Okay, good. We can keep going. Sorry. Apologies.
You're ahead of time now.
Oh, okay, good. All right, brilliant. We'll keep going onto the next item then. I'll share my screen. I have to set up my phone so that I get those instead of relying on my computer if I do that. Can people see my screen again?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, perfect. So let's go to the other one, which was related to this in some ways. So this one is, this is a proposal on adding a summary section. And the proposal is to add into the capability statement a summary table that identifies for each AU Core profile that has a must support element that references other profiles or resources. It lists what those are so that you can see what are the related things that might need to be supported for a specific resource type. So if you support AU Core Patient, does that mean that you need to support anything else for that? If you support AU Core Organization, does that mean you need to support anything else for that? So that's the proposed addition. So it's informative only. It changes none of the rules. Here's an example of what something like that might look like, looking at the e-requesting capability statement, which lists these resource types and would tell you, for example, my question on for AU Core Organization, are there any other resource types or profiles supported? No. But if you were to support AU Core Encounter, then these are the targeted resource and profile references that do have must support on them related from AU Core Encounter. We don't have this kind of overall table in AU Core, and so there's a proposal that this would be useful. And that's what I wanted to bring to the technical design group, because I raised this issue. Is this useful for people? Would you use it, or is it just going to take up space and clutter everything up, is I guess the question. So I'd like to hear from folks now on if you think that this would be something that would be useful.
Well, that would be definitely useful, Danielle. Yeah, at a quick glance, you know if you're all set. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on adding this in? Is anyone opposed to it? Does anyone go, God, no, we don't need another table. This is just going to be noise. All right, it doesn't sound like people are against it. So then in that case, with one positive comment so far, would someone like to motion I'll come back to this, to add a summary section that lists where each AU Core profile has a must support reference off to another profile or resource?
Yeah, happy to motion that, Danielle. This is Federica.
Okay, Thank you. Is someone happy to second that?
I'll second it, Tushi.
Okay, thanks, Dushi. I will relaunch the poll. Okay, so I've launched that poll and people are going through voting now. We've got the majority of respondents who voted, but we'll just give it another few seconds for that. And I'll count down now from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'll end that poll and share the results. So we do have that motion is passed. We're going to be adding in that table into AU Core with 18 affirmative, 0 negative, and 11 people have abstained. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so that comes to the end really of our voting. So we've made some voting and some disposition results on these particular 4 items. I'm going to go through and finish off now probably a bit early today, which is great, just on what's coming up next. And then we can open the floor if there are any other things people need to raise before we finish the meeting today. So thanks everyone for going through that. So ballot reconciliation meetings, we just had one today, and that's really going to be the focus of our next few. So ballot ends on, I believe it's the 8th, so that's this Sunday. So you need to get any of the votes in this Sunday, and then the co-chairs will be madly doing triage over the next couple of weeks to try to sort through all of those and what's a duplicate and what needs to be brought to the technical design group and trying to tee up things in meetings. What we'll try and do is have another ballot reconciliation meeting with some more items in our next meeting. So there'll be some comms coming out from us early next week on the next set of items that will be voted on in our next meeting. And then I think we'll also start to move into having some electronic votes, because by that point of time, we should also have in any of the typographical or editorial things, and we would likely put those together in a block vote and put that round. So we're going to be going through and doing ballot reconciliation up until the 31st of October. And we'll know more about how many issues there are and how and what topics they're on and how we want to plan for that in our next meeting. And we'll try and do an overview, I think, of what all of those issues are in our next meeting so that we can just parcel them up. And ideally, we will have managed to talk through and make some decisions on things by 31st of October, but we can also carry into November if we really need to. Oh, that's it. That's the end of that. Wow, that was quick. So, are there any things that people want to raise or any items that we need to be considering or add on to the agenda for our next meeting in addition to ballot reconciliation? All right. So then what we might do is close the meeting there. If there is anything of concern, again, you can drop me or any of the other co-chairs line or post something in chat.fi.org. Otherwise, I'll see you folks in a couple of weeks and you'll get some comms from us with the next kind of parcel of things that have been submitted for us to consider. So really appreciate everyone coming together today and working through those issues. It's a very good start. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Danielle.
Bye.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.